Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a video for you on some of my favorite makeup techniques. So these are makeup techniques and application tricks that I feel like really take makeup to the next level, really getting it looking a little bit more polished and elevated. And I want to walk you through these steps and kind of show you how I tweak these techniques to fit my face or my preferences. And I'm hoping this can be helpful so that you can do the same, because I'm truly obsessed with the way my base makeup has been coming out the past couple months, because I just love a good, juicy, radiant looking skin, but not too, dewy or greasy. And I feel like you guys are all gonna love this as much as I do. So let's just get into it, because I feel like this is going to be a long video, but also super exciting, a good old proper tutorial. I know I've preached this to you for years and years and years, but it really is the truth. Skin prep is so important. More important than any primer that you'll do. Take skincare seriously before you do your makeup, and that's the best priming that you can do. So this is going to look different for everybody depending on your skin type and whether this is a day or a night look. I know I prep differently accordingly. I do love a good primer. I'm not saying primers are useless, but the prep is 50% of the look. So another thing is, if you are going to be applying makeup for the daytime, you want to give the skincare enough time to fully absorb. So like anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes. That way the skincare has time to fully absorb, and you're gonna run into a lot less issues with the makeup that you put on top conflicting with the skincare. And I think you'll notice a lot less pilling or product kind of repelling against each other. So I've done all my daytime skincare and I've let it fully absorb. The next thing I like to do, let's say we're just not going to even reach for a primer, I think reaching for something moisturizing is the next best thing. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of the Rhode Glazing Mist. This is phenomenal. It's really great for moisturizing the skin. There is also no pearl to this, so you're not gonna have any type of shimmer or illuminating effects on the skin that you don't want. This is just a really nice moisturizing base, and it does have a nice slightly reflective finish because it leaves the skin so moisturized. So I do like a nice light mist of this. That way, right before we go in with makeup, the skin is pretty much right on the dot, moisturized before we go in with those products. Tip number 2 is underpainting. I've done a little bit more of an in-depth video on this in the past, but I don't think you necessarily need to do concealer, bronzer, blush, highlight, all of that before foundation. Sometimes that takes a little bit longer. I find I get such a great result by just doing a little bit of bronzing before I go in with makeup. There's a bunch of different ways you can do this. You can go in with just your traditional cream bronze. So you could do something like the Chanel cream bronzer. I love this. This is gonna give you a little bit more of a full-on bronze moment. Or you can do something that's a little bit less intense. So by Terry Tan, I've recommended this a ton. This is just a tint tan water. It's not going to actually self-tan the skin, but you're gonna get a little bit of that extra, bronze underneath the makeup. Or it's not super intense, but it definitely builds up. I like it, but if you're a little bit weary of it because it's a darker liquid, Iconic London also came out with a bronzing elixir, and this one is a lot more subtle, although it does have pearl. So you could totally step into this part of the routine using pretty much whatever you want. Okay, so with Tan, we're gonna take it on the Rare Beauty. I don't even know if this brush has a name. It's just a little duo fiber Rare Beauty blush. You can spray Tan directly on the face like this. Quickly go in and blend it. Now it does dry down as well, so it's not gonna stay tacky. It's just a really unique product. It's a liquid tint. So you can spray like that on the face, or if you want a little bit more control, you can spray directly onto your brush, kind of saturate the brush like that, and then it will help add some extra dimension once we go in with foundation and concealer. So this is gonna be for anybody that wants something super subtle. You tend to wear skin tints, tinted moisturizers. You don't even wear complexion. You just wanna go in with concealer. That's where I think Tan would definitely be the best bet. But again, if you want something a little bit more intense, you can go in with your cream bronzer. Next biggest tip, and I feel like especially if you have dry skin, this is going to be such a lifesaver for you. If you have more of like a normal to oily skin type, I don't think you'll love this as much as I do, but I have noticed such a big difference with my complexion looking noticeably plush and bouncy by taking a milky base. So this could be the Rhode Glazing milk. I love the Medicube Pink PDRN milk. I love the Tear milk, the Ilia base milk. Like, there's so many good base milks. You just want to pick one that's more in line with your skin type. The Rhode and the Medicube are by far the most moisturizing in my opinion. And taking your milky base and mixing it with your foundation. This is also a really great way to get more than one life out of your foundation. So if you have a foundation that's really full coverage, really matte, or you struggle with getting it to blend, maybe it's a matte foundation that dries down too quickly, enter milky bases. These will give you more playtime, more slip. You can also customize the actual coverage of your foundation product. So you can turn something that's more full coverage into a tinted moisturizer or even skin tint type of coverage. So that's what these are really great for. And this will give the skin, like I said, a little bit more playtime with the base products, but also you'll just have a little bit more of a plush, bouncy appearance. So just a small amount of foundation, and then we're gonna do maybe like equal or 3 drops of the Rhode Glazing Milk. This is a Fenty 110 brush, and I'm just going to mix the foundation with the glazing milk. So you can see the foundation just shears out a bit more. It's not gonna completely change the finish of your foundation either. You're still gonna have the same or a very similar set down. It might be slightly more dewy, but you'll have so much more give to the actual product. And I like using a nice dense brush like this, stippling the product in place to get some coverage. I also love how when you use these milky bases, you can stretch a really small amount of foundation. So just like 1 drop of foundation can really stretch further across the face. I mean, how pretty is that? Skin looks nice and moisturized. It doesn't look greasy, but we have this nice subtle glow, even though there's no pearl on the skin. Using different shades of concealers is a huge part of getting the base to look realistic. If you think about it, if you really are using brightening concealers underneath the eyes, that is not the shade that you wanna be using on post-acne hyperpigmentation, redness, blemishes. You should have a shade that is 1 to 2 shades lighter than your skin tone to add that depth, that dimension, and that little bit of subtle brightness to the dark spots or shadowy areas of the face to bounce back a little bit more light. And then you should have a shade that matches your skin tone pretty perfectly so that you can more easily conceal hyperpigmentation, redness, or add extra coverage on the base where you want that extra coverage. So I have 2 shades of the NARS Radiant Cream Concealer. My brightening shade is the shade Ginger, and my skincare shade is a shade that I can't pronounce because it's in French. So we're gonna go in with the brightening shade first, and with concealer, a little bit goes a long way. So it's so easy to go back in and add extra coverage if it's something that you desire, but going in with less than you actually need will make a big difference. So I like to just kind of hit those hot spots, shadowy part of the inner corner of the eye, add a little bit of brightness under there, and then I always like to add a little bit of brightness on the center of the nose. I also like to brighten just a touch on the sides of the nose and corners of the mouth. This is what's gonna give us a little bit more lift. And then for anywhere that we have a problem area or something that we really want to conceal, we'll go in with the shade that more realistically matches our skin tone. Don't go in and blend it right away. You really wanna give it some time to almost like settle and marinate on the skin so that when you go in and blend it, you're gonna notice you'll keep a lot more coverage and the concealer will almost set down to a more tacky state. So it's not gonna slip and slide as much around the base, and you're gonna get a more seamless fusion between the concealer and your skin. So do something else, go fill in your brows. I like to take this as the time to fill in my brows, so I'm just gonna use, well, I need to sharpen that, but I'm gonna use the Anastasia Perfect Brow Pencil. And typically by the time I'm done filling in my brows, the concealer is nice and marinated and in that perfect state to be blended. I'm going with my concealer brush. This is a Morphe 133. And when I blend out my concealer, I want to really emphasize this. You want to be stippling that concealer right in place. See how I am pushing the concealer back into the skin versus pulling. And that's something also, okay, so if you want to get this visible lift from the brightening concealer, what you wanna do is be blending up and out, okay? So like, I'll use the eye as the example because I think this is the best way to show you. So we're gonna keep that right here because we don't wanna be pulling this brightening concealer all over the face. We wanna keep it exactly where we've placed it. So we tap, tap, tap. And then when we come to this outer corner portion of the eye, to keep this lift going in this upward slant, what we're gonna be doing is blending up and out, see? And that's gonna keep that brightening effect going in the formation that we want. Really taking the time to ensure that it's pushed. I think a brush works much better for this type of technique in comparison to a sponge. It's gonna soak up a lot less product, and you're gonna have a lot more precision and control over the concealer. Okay, so I decided I wanted a little bit more coverage under the eye, so I just went in with ginger and just applied a little bit more right on the inner corner of the eye. And when you're layering concealer or foundation, whatever it is, this is the layer, this second layer that we're going in, if you choose to add more. This is where you really want to focus on letting the brush do the work. So I am barely pressing. I'm using such a light hand, stippling and just trying to finesse and baby this concealer. Be really careful, and then you're gonna get such a gorgeous, nice bright under eye, but it's not gonna look freakish or like too light or like there's just bright concealer all over the eyes. Now we're gonna move into the rest of the base. I'm gonna do a little bit of bronzer and blush. This is not something that if you guys want like more in-depth videos on bronzer placement, blush placement, I'll be happy to do that for you, but we're just going to kind of buzz through this because I feel like you guys know how I like to do my bronzer and blush. I'm just going to use the Too Faced bronzer. This is the Too Faced Melting Stick bronzer. I'm using the shade Chocolate Caramel. I'm using an IT Cosmetics foundation brush to apply this, and I'm just gonna stipple this onto the skin. And then I'm going in with the Patrick Ta Shiso LA. This is the Cream Blush Bronzer Duo. And we're gonna do this the Patrick Ta way because I do think that Patrick's technique gives you a really nice, unique look to the skin where you do powder first, then cream. Typically you would do cream, then powder, but with Patrick's blush technique, it just adds a little bit more life to the complexion and it almost slightly intensifies the powder. Shiso LA is still my favorite. I thought not too much had kind of won, but when I go back to Shiso LA, I'm like, oh wait, no, this is still the prettiest one. It's just like the perfect kind of like bronzer shade. And then on his face number 3 brush, you have your powder side, but then you also have this dense side right here that you use to pick up the cream. You want to use a dense brush for this portion because when you are putting the cream on top of the powder, you are not swiping at all. You want to be gently tapping that cream right into place. And the cream has a tiny bit of pearl to it, so it does give you a little bit more of a noticeable glow. Take it on the nose. Like that's a good looking cheek color, you know, just that little bit of dew, that little bit of glow. It's gorgeous. Next, we're going in with powder bronzer. I have managed to fix my favorite bronzer of all time, discontinued NARS Samoa. And I'm gonna take this on a Dibs powder brush because this is nice and fluffy. And we're just gonna lightly tap this on top of the cream bronzer so that when we powder the face, we don't lose any of the intensity. I don't know why NARS discontinued Casino and now Samoa. I'm pretty devastated because I don't think that Laguna 3 is similar to either of them. So maybe I'll have to try Laguna 4 because I loved Casino and then I loved Samoa and now Samoa's gone. I'm not trying to make this like a full-blown makeup tutorial because I really just want to focus on the tips. But I just did a quick eye look. I used the Makeup by Mario, the Master Mattes Original. Next tip is strategic highlighting. So I know we all remember back in the day, we would just like do the racing stripes down the sides of the cheeks and highlight everything, like over highlighted to the point that there was like a major highlight fatigue. Now I think we're taking a step back and like really doing more of a natural glow. So if you guys remember these little fan brushes, this is just one from Iconic London. We used to like pick up the highlighter on this and then just like swipe it across the top of the cheekbone. And that was a look, but that's not how we're highlighting anymore. And we're highlighting a lot more strategic so that when the face moves, you just have a little bit of natural glow. So I'm gonna dip into the new Dior Forever Luminizer. This one's in the shade Gold Halo. I always think just a touch of highlight right on your fingertip to highlight the nose. I really think it adds a little something and you want this to be subtle. So I just gently apply that right to the bridge of the nose like that and then just barely on the tip of the nose just to add a little bit of dimension, a little bit of highlight right there. You can also take this, you know, on the apple of, not the apple, the Cupid's bow. I was gonna say the apple of your lips, but you can take this on the Cupid's bow, chin, you could do center of the forehead, or if we're gonna be highlighting the top of the cheekbone, the way I like to do that, I'm sure you probably still have your old fan brush lying around, just tapping into a bit of the highlight take the excess off on the back of your hand, because there's always gonna be some excess. And then what we're gonna do is highlight from the outer corner of the eye, gently back toward the hairline. This triangle right here is what's going to give you the most natural highlight. In fact, I would say like don't even pull it much past the outer corner of your eye. And again, we wanna highlight in this upward motion. I also like to take just a touch above the arch of the brow. I think that adds a really pretty little soft amount of glow. But always, always, always back of the hand, get that excess highlight off so that you don't have a clump, and then you can just highlight right there. And that's what's gonna give you that kind of like soft, glossy looking skin without it being so obvious that you have a ton of highlight on. And honestly, whatever's left over, just take in the center of the face a little bit. Just gently dust it over the skin. Welcome to the world of powder. And I know that if you are a dry skinned person, sometimes powder is a little bit scary, but strategic powdering is a huge tip that I took away from Mary Phillips specifically, and I think it makes a really big difference. So depending on what you need, you can isolate and strategically powder areas of the face depending on the type of effect that you want. So if you're somebody who wears a brightening concealer like I showed you, you'd want to go in with a brightening powder to set that brightening concealer down, because if you set it with something that's more in line with your skin tone, you're gonna lose that visible brightness and all that dimension that you spent so much time working to create. So when you use a brightening powder, that's where you're going to focus on, like underneath the eyes, center of the face, anywhere that you used those brightening effect products. This one is the YSL All Hours Hyper Blur. This one's in the shade number 4, so it's like a light lavender, super finely milled, great for center of the face because it does not emphasize texture or cling to areas on the face. So I will be using this for brightening, and then a finishing powder that was discontinued. I don't know why. I'm guarding this with my life. This is my last one. This is the Dior Backstage Face and Body Powder, Powder No Powder. Or if you don't want to use 2 different powders and you just kind of want a nice universal set, that's when you'd go in with just something that's a little bit more translucent. So something like the Chanel Loose Powder. This is another really great option for somebody who just wants to be able to take a puff and pat the powder all over the entire face. You're not so much focused on dimension or finishing. But today I'm gonna show you the finishing and the brightening powder. So we're gonna start off with the YSL Hyper Blur. Tap a little into the lid. You can see it's slightly purple in tone. We are using a puff for this. We're gonna pick up that powder, work the puff back into the hand, and we're gonna focus this on the areas of the face where we used that brightening concealer, and we are tapping, okay? We are only tapping. You do not swipe this powder application, and we can focus it too around the corners of the nose, mouth, and center of the forehead. So brightening powder on the areas of the face that you want to keep brightened, and then finishing powder, we're gonna pick up on a loose fluffy brush because this we wanna lightly buff and dust into the skin. So I think the Hourglass dual-ended powder brush is perfect for this. And this is what we use for our final blend to pat and then gently buff. This is gonna help set all that makeup in place, but also just give everything a little bit more of a seamless blend. So you pat to lock the creams in place, and then you gently buff like this to get that final blend. Next up is Tightlining. So you want to use a gel eyeliner. This is the one from Persona. It's in the chocolate shade. And well, first let me curl my eyelashes because that's what I need to do. I'm using the Shiseido today. We're just gonna give the lashes a curl. When we tightline, we're sealing off that flap of skin that's slightly visible underneath the top lash line. The way this makes your top lash line look so much more full is incredible. This will give such a visible illusion of a fuller lash line. Sorry guys, it's hard to talk when I'm tightlining. I'm more concentrated on that. But you'll take the gel waterproof liner and just gently run it along from outer corner to inner corner of the top lash line. I promise you, this will make not only the base of your lashes look so much more full, it just defines the eye in almost like an invisible way. You won't really be able to see it unless you're up close, but it even defines the eye more than, you know, tightlining the lower lash line, because you're adding so much definition to the eye in a way that doesn't look like, you know, just like a full-on strip of eyeliner. And then when you put mascara on, you're not going to be able to see that top lash line because you have that nice brown or black gel pencil really just filling out each of those gaps in the lashes. Next tip is bringing back your freckles, your moles, your beauty marks, I don't care what it is, and you don't have to bring all of them back, and you don't have to create faux freckles or a fake beauty mark, anything like that. Or if you have a lot of freckles or a lot of beauty marks and you don't want to bring all of them back, at least pick like 2 or 3 and bring those back. Anything that's distinct and unique to your face, that's what makes you beautiful. That's unique about you. And I think that that's what really makes the base authentic and look like yourself. So you don't have to go out and buy a freckle pen. You don't have to go out and buy anything else. You can use a brow pencil, a brown lip liner, a brown eyeliner. You can really use anything in your collection that has a brown tone. Like for example, this is just Makeup Forever Limitless Brown. It's one of the artist color pencils. And I'll go in and I try to always fill in this one right here. I'm gonna tap it with my finger. I like to fill in this one on the side of my nose. This one, the one above my lip. I love the one above my lip. I have one right here on my nose. Got one right under there on my eye. And then sometimes I'll go in and add a few more. Just make sure you go in with the pad of your finger and kind of tap them out so that they look like they're more natural and not drawn on. It just adds a little something. Like it makes your face look like your face. So I think always go in, and like I said, if you have a lot of freckles and you don't want to go in and manually re-add them on top of your makeup, then just pick like your favorite ones and bring those back. I promise you it's cute. It's so cute. Just do a few and it's what makes your face look like yourself. Next is the lip lift liner technique. So this is Makeup by Mario, Mary Phillips. It's a very good technique. I think you should use a shade of lip liner that is maybe like at most 3 shades darker than your natural lip line, but I think using something that's more so believable or looks like a lip shade. So nothing too pinky, too red, too warm, something that falls in line with a natural color to your face. So I really like this one lately. This is from Isamaya. It's in the shade Gesha, and I just sharpened it so she's nice and sharp. But the way that this works is that we're gonna be centrally overlining the lip. So you wanna keep the natural shape and size of the corners of the border of your mouth, but we're trying to create more visible, vertical fullness. So sometimes if you overline a lot on the sides, it looks very overlined, but I'm gonna show you how to do that. So we're gonna use the Isamaya Gesha, and let's just do the corners, and we're gonna stop right about here, okay? So I'm just gonna follow that border on this side and the other side. Now the areas that we're overlining, we're gonna do the center of the top and the center of the bottom, slightly outside of where we just did the border. And then I'm gonna do the same for the top. And connecting it to the natural border of the line on the corner. It almost helps if you hold your pencil on an angle. Then I'm gonna take it again on the angle and we're gonna fill in the edge just to give a little bit of softness. And we're also gonna take this on the corners. Bit of lipstick. This is Fenty Gloss Bomb Stick in Spice Cold. And then just a little bit of gloss on top. I'm gonna use the Forget the Filler from Wallace. It's a really great way to exaggerate the shape of your lips and kind of cheat more vertical fullness without completely overlining your entire lip, because sometimes if you overline the entire lip, it just doesn't look quite as realistic. I really feel like doing the lip lift technique is what gives you that fuller looking lip with the lip liner versus having to just overline your entire mouth. You know, sometimes that like looks a little bit weird, and then as the lip product starts wearing off, I feel like whenever I overline too much, that's when I get left with that ring of lip liner around my lips. All right, so this is the finished skin with all those techniques. You could then go in with another mist of like a moisturizing mist if that's what you want, or you can go in with a long-lasting setting spray. This one from L'Oreal is really great, the Infallible, or you could do the Rhode Glazing Mist, or you could do my personal favorite. I feel like I've talked about this so many times. Let me shake it up so you can see. The Iconic London Glow Mist. This is the one I'm gonna use because this is my favorite. So then I'll just go with this and kind of like set everything down. This just makes everything better. It just adds that final little bit of glow, and it's not sticky. Like, it doesn't have a tacky set down on the skin, so it's not distracting, but it just puts the most gorgeous, like, microfine pearl layer on the skin to where it looks really radiant and angelic. So this is the finished base with all of my favorite makeup techniques that I feel like I'm doing on a daily basis, or on days where I really want a little bit of extra special looking makeup. Now, these definitely add extra time into your makeup routine, so it's not something that I would recommend for necessarily every single day, but if you have a day where you just want to look a little bit more elevated, a little bit more polished, you want your makeup to look a little bit more professional, I think these are great techniques to try implementing or experimenting around with and kind of see what works for you, or tweaking them a bit to fit your face and what you like your makeup to look like. So if you have any questions, I will help you out to the best of my ability. I'm also going to list and link all of the products that I used in this video in the description box down below. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you want me to expand on this video, if there's any specific tutorials that you're really wanting to see, or if there's any products that you really want to see me talk about on YouTube. Let me know and I'll add it to my list. Bye, guys.